Warning, this episode contains strong language or mature themes. Parental discretion is advised.
Yay, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. All right.
Cool. Welcome to this podcast is Uncalled For.
What's uncalled for about it?
Well, you can't tell anybody this.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Don't be ashamed to be a supporter of Barack Obama for the next 2 years or for the rest of your lives, because you should be proud of what you've done.
I worship Cthulhu just for the free beer.
But you didn't even give a chance for a wild card spot.
Well, the name of this podcast is Stuff Uncalled For?
This podcast is uncalled for.
Podcast, all right.
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous ending to that game that I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up.
We're looking at each other in the eye. We're not going to say anything derogatory to the other person. And of course, neither of us is drunk.
Another thing that differentiates Mormonism from Catholicism is I don't hear Pope Francis saying that he's a prophet, seer, and revelator.
This is a disgrace.
Hey, we're getting somewhere.
And now, your host for this podcast, Mike Chernefsky.
Fuji!
Welcome to today's podcast. Before we introduce today's guest, we have a warning for you. So today's discussion will revolve around the natural human form. If it is something that offends you, please turn off this episode of the podcast and feel free to listen to any of the other episodes we have so far. We'll give you a couple minutes to make up your minds, but you have been warned. Alright, are all the prudes gone? Alright, so today we're interviewing Mark Partin. Mark is, at the time of this recording, the president of the Heartland Naturists of Kansas City. For those who are unfamiliar with the term naturism, it is a synonym of nudism and is exactly what it sounds like. It's people hanging out and doing things naked. It's a subject that was touched upon with my interview with Ty Gebhardt. This was recorded during a naturist event, so everyone's naked. I do want to stress before we start the interview that it is not a sexual practice. In fact, overt sexuality will get you kicked out of most naturist events, and it's just about having fun without clothes on. Please welcome Mark Partin to the podcast. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
All right, so first things first, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Mark. I guess I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and then moved to Kansas City area in 2006 with my wife, who's from Lawrence. So we moved back.
All right. And the reason we know each other, of course, is through naturism, through the Naturist community. How'd you get started in naturism?
It's kind of gradual, I guess. From a young age, I didn't see the big deal about the human body. My family wasn't naturist. It was you take your clothes to the bathroom when you go to shower, and you go in clothed, and you come back out clothed. But growing up, we had about 4 acres of land, and a lot of it had hills and trees, so I would wander around in nature in the trees and things like that with no clothes on, and I enjoyed it. So I would do it as much as possible. At home, when the parents and family were away, I would strip down and wander around the house. But of course, when they came home, I had to remove to my room and do that. And it wasn't until college, I guess, when I started looking into nude beaches, which there were no nude beaches near Tennessee, but I thought about going to Florida at some point, and then I learned that there was a nudist resort in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Rock Haven. It wasn't until probably 98 or 99 when I decided to go try that out, and I think that was after Megan and I started dating. I told her about it. She didn't really understand it, but she was fine with me doing what I wanted to do. So I tried out the resort. I liked it, and I guess the rest is history.
All right. So for those who have not participated in naturist activities, could you give a description of what to expect should they decide to give it a try?
A lot of people are really anxious about it. There are some that aren't. Like myself, I was anxious when I first tried it. I wasn't sure what to expect when I went to a resort. But everyone, I think, has the same anxiety going in. Are people going to look at them or judge them or laugh at them? Are they going to be odd in some way or stand out? What if they do something wrong? A social faux pas? Generally, that doesn't happen. 99.99% of the case, no one does anything like that. No one's abnormal as far as that. Everyone thinks that they're going to stand out in one way or the other. Either everyone at the resort or event will be exceptional as far as great looking, in great shape, or whatever. But by and large, when you arrive, you find that everyone is pretty normal. So it's like go to the mall and look at the first 100 people that come through the door, and that's who you'll see at a naturist resort or nudist event. So what to expect is, some people have described it as kind of a letdown, actually, that they walk in and it's not as charged or exciting as they had expected, and they just kind of jump into it and actually forget why they were anxious about it to begin with.
I know you said off mic that you didn't have any, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Any funny or interesting stories you would like to share with our audience?
Nothing I can think of. I'm sure something has happened, but I can't think of anything in particular.
I remember the last time I went camping. That was during H&F the one year with the rainstorm.
Remind me.
So I forget exactly the year, but I remember buying a tent specifically for H&F that year, and we had the big rainstorm overnight, and my tent got flooded, and everything got wet, and I threw it out, and I have not been camping since.
That's happened a couple of times. There was once when we went to Sandy Lane near Hutchinson, Kansas. This was a couple of years ago, I guess. And Ty, you interviewed before, I think, was a victim of this. I was lucky enough, being president of the club, to secure a cabin instead of staying in my tent. But during the night, there was a really heavy rainstorm. It just came down in buckets, and I was nice and dry in the cabin, listening to the rain pound on the ceiling, but on the roof. But in the morning, I ventured out and found several people who had their tents flooded out in the night, and a couple of them retreated to the clubhouse to wait it out. And so there were quite a few people who were letting their things dry before they headed home.
Well, see, that's an interesting story. All right. And do you have any closing thoughts to share with our audience?
No, nothing in particular. I appreciate you interviewing me for your podcast, and it sounds like it's going well, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Well, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. I'm having fun with it, too. And that's why we do it. So special thanks to Mark Partin for being on the podcast today. And special thanks to all of our guests, either past or coming up. As always, ways you can help the podcasts. You can search for This Podcast Is Uncalled For on any of the many podcasting platforms that are out there. We, of course, have our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/uncalledforpodcast. And, of course, our blog, which is uncalledfor.home.blog. And please subscribe to the podcast, and most importantly, tell your friends about it and get them to subscribe to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next time. And in light of today's episodes, try getting naked once in a while. Take care. This podcast is Uncalled For, is hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Chernevsky. Opening music is Fantasia Fantasia by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Outro music is Miami Nights Extended Theme by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Additional music included No Frills Salsa Alternates by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. And Beach Bum by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license.
If you would like to support this podcast or any of Mike's other creative endeavors, please consider making a donation at patreon.com/Mike Chernevsky. That's MikeCzerniewski. Donations over $5 will receive a special thanks on a future podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.